And good day. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Leadership makes a difference at all levels. And I have not been particularly happy with the California Republican Party for quite a number of years. Up till early COVID, I was actually a libertarian. Now, I was always a conservative libertarian, and I abandoned the Republican Party because I felt like they abandoned me. But COVID was a call to action for me, and I went from somebody that just paid attention to national to paying attention to local and taking care of details. And when I did, I realized I had to be part of the Republican Party if I wanted to be part of the change. Well, I have somebody that's running for leadership in the California GOP. She's running for vice chair. Welcome, Lani Kane.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that. And I'm going to open up with there is no better way, exactly what you described, what we need in this state. And to take it even further, we need everybody that aligns with our values. And it could be different values, our kids, religion, agriculture. But those are key components that bring people together. And what brought me to the Republican Party, because I was independent, was my love for veterans. So my family has given over 100 years of service. And when
Wow.
Benghazi went down, I was very upset. And that's what brought me to come and get involved and stay involved and make the changes that, we want to see in the state of California. And so you were exactly right to get involved. Those words couldn't have been described any better.
Well, with freedom comes responsibility. And if you're going to complain, it's time to kick it into action.
Agree. I agree. And so with that, I've been involved for the last 10 years. Um, really, I was so adamant about Hillary not getting in. I marched myself down to the Republican Party and said, "Are you supporting President Trump or not?" And the chair was like, "We can't tell you." Back then, they couldn't tell us because we don't want to influence your vote. And so she goes, "But stick around and you'll figure it out." So I did. Yeah, she told me she was a straight shooter. I love her. Her name was Dee, and I learned a lot from her in the short time I got to spend with her. So I became a representative of my district, and then for a short time I was a treasurer. But then Dee got very sick, and I was appointed chair and
Wow.
got reelected. Yeah, 6 times. I was the chair of Lake County. And so Lake County was very, very successful under Pat Ridgel's father. And he was also a vice regional chair. And he had passed away. And that county had had some difficulties. And really, the Central Committee was dead. And so when I took over, I had no people and I had no money. And I had a big black eye because they had a red elephant pack up there, and something happened with I'm not going to say it was intentional, but something happened, they got in trouble, and it all dissolved. And so I
Ugh.
really had to prove myself to the community that I have integrity, and I want to bring forth this vision, and I do not want Hillary Clinton to get in office. And so that was my goal of the first year. And I have to say, I think I was pretty successful, and successful in training my central committee, because in 2022, I had to step down. I'm a COVID tragedy, and that's a whole long story, but it actually brought me back to politics. And that central committee has not faltered. I mean, they had some rough patches when I was sick in the hospital, but I'm so proud of them because they've maintained their delegates and have gotten bonus delegates. They've maintained the office. And so that's really the leadership that you want to bring forth in this state. Number one to me is training people and making them understand what the Central Committee's job is.
Most people have no
And
idea.
no idea. So, and when I sit down and so I've done trainings about this throughout the state. I sit on 5 Republican statewide committees. I sit on 4 chartered committees, and I sit on 5 veteran organizations. So I'm really busy and I'm very involved, but I bring forth my vision to these organizations and beyond. Because, like I had mentioned before, we really need to build our party beyond the Republican platform. And I currently live in Los Angeles, which I'm not very fond of, but I'm part of the LA GOP. I'm the secretary of my Assembly District 43. And so I started getting involved in the community and business owners, and we're holding events. We had 4 events last year. And really, these business owners, Hispanic, all Hispanic population down here, they are fed up with the taxes. And really, what motivated them was our kids, all of the stuff that's happening with our kids. And so my kids are older, but I sort of help them understand what central committees do. And so they're like, we have to get more people on our side.
Yes, we
Started
do.
doing events. Yeah, we started doing events. And I challenge every central committee and every organization to do this. We started holding free events with free food, educating people, having vendor tables there, and then having speakers come up and speak. And part of the criteria was, for you to receive the free items, we ask, you don't have to do it, but we ask for your information so that we can keep you in the loop of future events and maybe legislation that is coming down that's going to directly affect your community. And you know what? We've been pretty successful. I have gotten people registered Republican. I have some groups down here in Southern California that are thinking about becoming a chartered organization because every chartered organization gets 2 delegates.
I
And
didn't know
I
that.
really will.
So
Yes.
Republicans like the CRA, the RNHA, they get delegates
Yep.
for each
Yep.
chapter?
Each chapter that's chartered. Yes.
Did not know
And
that.
yes, and I would really like to allow those chartered organizations to get additional delegates, like bonus delegates. Of course, the criteria that's going to have to be, hashed out, but to get 2 delegates is nice, but to get more, it's an incentive for these chartered organizations to work, alongside us and harder. I'm just going to say that, not that they don't work hard, but they deserve the right, I feel, to get bonus delegates just like central committees. So central committees get bonus delegates too if they do certain things. And so after I was elected chair of Lake County, I formed the Republican Rural County Alliance because I realized none of our voices up in the north mattered. And so
Well,
we,
that's
oh,
very
go
true,
ahead.
sadly.
Yeah. And so I reached out to Northern California county chairs and Central Valley because it was rural. That was the key word.
Mhm.
And so I had 30 counties in my organizations, and we used to have trainings, and we did multi-county fundraisers. And then at the conventions, we would all come together in some back room alley. No, I'm kidding. And hold meetings, and we would discuss, the initiatives that we wanted to support, the candidates we wanted to support, and we would all come together in one block.
Well, that's good.
And
Look, this will
yeah.
be my first convention.
Oh, well,
I, I
okay.
I have been extremely active. I go to my city council meetings and speak all the time. I go to my board of
Mhm.
supervisors meetings pretty regular.
Uh-huh.
I lead a group. I've walked for candidates many, many, many times. I've sat at voter registration tables many, many, many times. But it's all happened after the start of COVID, after March of 2020.
Yeah.
So I jumped in with both feet. That coordination you're talking about, where people of like mind and like ideas, I hope that happens. But, you said in the back alley, if that's where we got to meet to get together, I'm willing. Sacramento can be rough, but as long as we can fight
Yeah.
off the homeless, I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sort of kidding about that, but really, I didn't ask anybody's permission, and sometimes I am sort of guilty of that. I'll just move forward, and then people are like, "Lonnie, why didn't you call me?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, but it's not intentional. I just see something that I want to get accomplished, and then I start targeting or connecting with people that I feel can help me get that accomplished." And so, yeah, well, after I formed that Republican Rural County Alliance, um, Mike Osborne, who was the chair of the Chairman's Association, and if you're new to this, let me explain that. The Chairman's Association, the chair sits on the board of directors and is a liaison between the state party and the county chairs. And
Hmm.
so
Okay.
he asked me to run because he was going to retire. And I think he had been the chair of chairs for 8 years, a long time. And so I said, let me think about that. I'm not quite sure what's involved. So I contacted past chairs and asked them, what did you do? What did you bring to the table? And one of them said, oh, I got it where we could get a bank account. And I thought that was what sold me to run for office because my immediate thought was, oh, we could raise money collectively and then help our counties that are struggling or small or don't have those opportunities. And so I ran and I won in 2020. And I was very honored to represent all 58 counties in the state.
So you've been on the CGAOP executive board in that capacity.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I have. And so I think the best compliment I ever got, because a lot of the chairs was like, there's no communication, there's no training, and I'm conservative and I'm not going to apologize for that, you know? And so, one of the best compliments I got was from Tim O'Reilly, and he's the chair of the Los Angeles County GOP. And he said, Lonnie, when you got elected, we were all thinking, oh my gosh, you're going to be a far, far right. And he said, but what you proved to be was a unifier because really the counties were very divided. And I put aside,
They still
you
are
know,
in a lot of ways, unfortunately.
I hate to, I'm not going to disagree. I hate to say this, but when I was in office, I started unifying our counties because I put away the grievances. I don't like this person, whatever. What is it that we want to accomplish? Let's come together and work on it. And let me tell you, we put together, like county chairs wanted specific things. And one of the key things I do is I like to collaborate, but I want to listen. I listen to what people want. And so one of the things was there's no messaging, right? That's still an issue to this day. So I pulled together like five county chairmen who were very, very diverse. And I was surprised. It was volunteer. Some that were more to the middle, moderate chairs, and then some that were conservative. And then we had our constitutionalists that signed up. And so I thought, oh boy, this is going to be fun. But, to be honest with you, it was really, really refreshing to see them work together and come up with one word that would represent Republicans, but that they could uh, make it their own for their county.
So you
Because
said
what's
one
going to,
one word. What was that word?
one word, opportunity. It was Republican opportunities. And so every county could use that word for the opportunities that they want to bring forth in their county. And I actually got it approved from the GOP state party. I went through the media director and she was like, yeah, Lonnie, we can roll that out. And then I had a very tragic thing happen to me and I did not just see that come, I didn't get that accomplished, but I still would like to, bring that forth.
So is this when you had your COVID tragedy?
Yes.
Mm.
So I'll just jump into that. So I got COVID passing out Christmas gifts in my community because I was very involved with my community. I was the chair of my municipal advisory council to the board of supervisors. And I sat on the parent school board site council. I was, I ran two nonprofits up there. We did all the Meals on Wheels for Lake and Mendocino County.
So you
So I was
just sit around and
really,
do nothing most of the time, is what it sounds like.
yeah, and my husband owned a business for 30 years, so I helped him do that too. Um, yeah, I'd like to stay busy, you know. Some people say, Lonnie, you're just too hyper, but
But we need
um,
people with energy and a good attitude,
thank
because
you.
without the good attitude, you can't build bridges.
You're right. You know what? You are so right. And so, unfortunately, I got COVID really, really bad. And I'm a transplant recipient. And so my immune system is not like yours.
Right. So you're on
And
rejection,
yeah,
anti-rejection
yes.
drugs all
Yeah, that's a whole
for
nother
life.
story. Yeah. And so, and my husband was the donor and he did live paired donation and he saved 12 people's lives with his kidney.
Wow.
So
Cool.
yeah, yeah. So I got COVID, ended up being in ICU on the third day, and my husband had COVID, and they actually gave him ivermectin and sent him home. And 3 days later, he died.
Mm.
So I lost my husband of 34 years in while I was in ICU.
Well, I feel for you
And
there. That's got to be rough. So many people had a tragedy that goes with COVID. I'm glad to see
yeah,
you're up and doing something though.
I was trying. I refused the ventilator before he died. Did not want to do it. And then after he died, it was my kids because the doctors were so adamant that, I had to have it to save my life. And so I said, okay, I agree. 7 days. That's all I want to be on it. I was on that ventilator for 2 months. It destroyed my throat. I had 5 surgeries. And when I went up to the convention in March of 2023, or 22, I still had a trach. I had a trach for 15 months in my throat. So I woke up out of a coma with I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk. I felt like a vegetable. I had to learn everything over again.
So
And
how did that motivate you to then get involved again? I mean,
I didn't
because
think I was.
sometimes people just break from those kinds of tragedies and sometimes they pick themselves up.
I guess I picked myself up because Mike Osborne called me again the minute I got my voice back in September of that year, 2022, Mike Osborne called me and said, Lonnie, wouldn't it be great if you just went up to the convention and put your name in the hat to run for chair? And I said, Mike, I still have a trach in my throat. I don't know what's going to happen, you know? And he's like, well, think about it. And so I did, and I got a lot of phone calls, but basically what happened was I got nominated off the floor to be second vice chair of the California Chairman's Association. And then I'm the chair of effectiveness of the California Chairman's Association. And so in a way, it was a godsend because even though I didn't think I'd come back to politics, I've been so busy and involved. I don't have to think of my beautiful husband that I lost for 34 years every day. So it's sort of, I don't want to say it's healed me because,
But it's
you
given you a
know,
sense of purpose.
a sense of purpose. And, one thing that we all share in this party is we believe in God. And I mean this from the bottom of my
I
heart. And
hope
I
you're
said
right.
it
I'm not actually positive we all, but I would say the vast majority.
The vast majority, I would say, that God could be in different forms for different, people, like, Hindus, and that's what I'm talking
Uh,
about. We all have that value, I feel, in this party.
Actually, I've met a few atheist Republicans, which just blows my mind.
Yeah, that's surprising. Well, I haven't, and, as a constitutionalist, I'll respect it, you know. Um, but in general, most of the people that I've run across are. And I think it really saved my life because I can tell you how many prayers I got. I mean, calls, cards, text. It was just overwhelming and incredible. And I know that I don't think I would have made it without prayers. I really believe in prayers. So I faced death a few times in my life,
Well,
and I know
amen
it
to that.
works.
On that note, though, we're going to go ahead and take our first break.
Okay.
This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. I want to say thank you to everybody that's listening on social media, because the radio listeners don't get to hear this portion. Probably should thank them at some point, too. We're going to go ahead and continue our discussion. I've got some questions. Let's
Sure.
go ahead and come back. And good day. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. I am joined by a candidate for the California GOP. You're running for vice chair. Who's your opponent?
My opponent is John Park and Amy Fan. So I have two people running against me. And they just jumped in the race about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
So I'm not necessarily going to ask you to put them down. I'm going to say, do you bring something different to the table than them? And do you have, are your values similar, or things like that? I think that's a fair way to talk about that.
Yes. So I know Amy, and I just saw her recently in LA. We're at a delegate forum, and she ran up to me and gave me a big hug. And
Is this Amy Fan West?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I know her.
Yes. And so, we have a good relationship, and I think she's doing some good things where she's a council member, if I'm not mistaken. And so, it was nice to see her. She, like I said, she ran up and gave me a big hug, and, we're respectful to each other. Never met John Park. He came up to me, said hello, and he said, "Oh, Lani, I've heard so much about you." And I said, "Oh, all bad?" And I sort of laughed, and he's like, "No," he goes, "I've never heard anything bad about you. It's all been good." And he says, "And I want you to know, I will not say anything bad about you. And I hope that, you have the same respect." And I said, I don't sling mud. I won't do that. I don't do that. I'll speak the truth. I'll speak facts. And so I don't really know John Park, but I've heard him speak. And, I think he has he has some similar things that I have in regards of building coalitions and fundraising, but he is a vice regional chair of Orange County. And so the difference between us is my experiences statewide. I've built relationship with county chairs. I still have those relationships. I understand the counties.
Well,
because each county is different.
And there's a huge divide. I've lived in Northern California, in Yuba County, outside of Marysville.
Yeah.
I've lived in Clovis. I've lived in Fresno. Each place is so dramatically different, and the idea that our state tries to mandate one size fits all is a problem.
Yeah.
Now, everybody asks and pays attention more to chair than the rest of the executive board. I don't know that that's fair. Do you have somebody you like for chair? Somebody that aligns with your values?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Corinne and I have a relationship, and, we've always been very respectful to each other. I think she's a very hard worker. But I don't align in all of her voting. So that's what I'm going to say about that.
Okay, I'm going to step in just slightly more. I'm endorsing Mike Morrell. I think he aligns with my values better. The things that concern me about Corinne, I've not met her personally. She has defended the diversity, equity, and inclusion quite a lot. And along with Jessica Patterson, she refused and is part of the group that wanted to not endorse Trump. That's a problem for me, a huge problem.
Yeah.
Trump is one of our beacons of hope. He's not perfect, but he's better than any alternative I've seen, and best president in my lifetime. And I'm a Reagan fan. Yet I think Trump has exceeded that. Also, both her and Jessica, being the 1 and 2, were in charge and implemented the $25,000 Dominion machine that counts the small number, essentially 1,500 delegate number of votes. Yet when they have the regional vice chair positions, they count them by hand. Now,
Yeah.
why would you spend crazy money or trust a machine? That doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to get into it much more than that.
Yeah.
I
Well, let
have
me tell
some
you,
problems with
yeah.
Corinne, and I understand why you don't want to burn bridges.
Well, really, it's quite simple. I just don't align with her voting record.
Well, that's a very polite way to say that. What do you think
Yeah.
of her opponent, Mike Morrell?
I align very much with his values. I don't know him personally as a senator. I think um, he understands that arena much more than I do, although I'm learning. I'm a fast learner. I came from the grassroots. And so, actually, I'll be honest with you, I've learned most of that through my veterans organizations because our commander helps push policy. And so it's very interesting to me. As a matter of fact, I'm going to a training on Friday. But I like Senator Morrell. And, people will say, oh, he's, doesn't, he's older, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I got to tell you, he has a really funny sense of humor. I don't know how to describe it, but I want to say almost like a dry sense of humor because I've been around him while he's talking and he'll say something and it's like we all just start cracking up. And so I don't think people really give him a chance. They look at him and think they judge him automatically. And so it's sort of refreshing to see, you know, he has a very statured look and very prim and proper and a very
Yes.
nice man. But to see him sort of, bring that forth is nice. So, but
It,
I do align with his values. Um, so let me tell you this. I do not believe in DEI. I came from the generation, the Generation X.
Mhm.
I think we're getting a lot of recognition on TikTok. So, and I believe in hard work. That's how I've always excelled in anything I've tried to accomplish.
Come on, it's just
And
luck. It's just luck. The harder you work, the more luck you have, and that's
yeah,
mostly a quote. I didn't get it exactly right from Thomas Jefferson. The
yes, I
harder I
agree.
work, the more luck I have.
I like that. I like that. I'll be honest with you, I do not align with that ideology. I have actually been with organizations, groups that are not Republican, in stopping transgenders reading to 4 and 5-year-olds at public libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I put, I anybody can get up here and say, this is what I want to bring to the table. This is what I see my vision. What have you done? What have you done? I could give you a list of things that I've done. So I'm active. I want to see progress. And so I have stopped that from happening in Southern California. And really that is what, I got to meet all those different groups and, communication, just like you said, talking with them. How do we stop this? And I said, well, first, get involved in the Republican Party.
Mhm.
And second of all, we need to find good candidates that align with our values because really it's our legislators that are making the laws,
And get them
school
elected.
boards. Yeah,
It's not just
school
enough to
boards, water
find them.
board.
We have to actually help push them across the finish line, whether that's
Yeah,
money
and
or
hold
time.
them. Yeah, and hold them to accountability to, what they're going to bring to the table because I know there's that other side of it. And it's disappointing to people. It really is. We should have some kind of clause, in that oath of office. So, because
Like if
they'll have to take the oath, right?
yes, but if they either betrayed their promises or betrayed the Constitution, yeah, I think there should be consequences. Not quite sure
I
how to
agree.
pull that off, but it seems
Yeah,
just.
yeah, I agree. So, and then, all the other stuff that you mentioned, I agree with you. And that's why I'm running. I'm running for two reasons. I really, really feel we have such a great opportunity to continue to grow this state, in the values that we have. Look, we flipped 10 counties red for voting for President Trump.
Mhm.
We should have been on the ground in January, or just maybe not December, but in January, ready to start rolling out initiatives and voter contact and outreach right in January to keep that momentum going. And so, unfortunately, hopefully if we get new leadership, we can build that and move forward, because each board member can bring different things to the table. But when most of central committees, their first and second vice chairs, they're actually the leaders of either voter registration or candidate recruitment.
Yeah, that's
So,
not really my county. There's some issues, but
yeah.
hopefully we will
But
work them out. I'm truly disappointed in my county and how
mm,
our election went down, but I'm not going to get into that today. I'm just going to say
yeah,
it better be better.
I think it will be better. I think it will. So don't give up your faith. But saying that, like I said, I'm a doer. So last year, reached out to the vice regional chairs, asked them if I wanted to bring training to the new members that were going to be coming on board. And so I did that last year up and down the state of California.
Okay, so I want
And
to dig
really,
into that just a little bit because it's easy to say
sure,
training. What'd you focus on?
focused on the two jobs we have: voter registration and candidate recruitment.
Okay,
And then all of the subcommittees that you need to have to put that in place:
okay,
fundraising, candidate recruitment, vetting, right?
right.
Voter outreach, community outreach. Those are
Candidate
all
training.
this. Oh, go ahead.
Candidate training.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And so those are all the things that you need as subcommittees to be successful in getting your candidate in office and registering Republicans.
agreed.
Because more Republicans we have, greater chance we're going to win.
Well, the greater chance that, but we also have to get them to the polls. And there's one of the places where Trump seems to be able to get them to the polls, but,
Yeah.
we might have been able to win that recall against Gavin Newsom, um, if we'd shown up to the polls, but 2 million less Republicans showed up to the polls to get rid of him.
Yes. And, a lot of people, I can't remember exactly what he did in the media, but I really feel, and this is something else I want to bring forward. So my platform, just to jump back a little bit, is building coalitions outside of the Republican Party, strengthening our charter organizations and offering them additional delegates, bonus delegates. Also, um, have a community outreach. Also, I would like to focus on voter registration that brings each county, that's customized to each county. Like I said before, the counties are all, every county is different.
No,
And
but there's two big
so,
groups that we don't do well enough with. Everywhere in the state, pretty much, has a large Hispanic population that doesn't typically vote Republican. We need to build
right.
bridges there. Some
Yes.
counties have a Hmong population, which tends to be pretty darn conservative. We need to
Yes.
do better outreach there. The Sikhs are,
Yes.
are open to talking to us.
Yes.
Outside of
And
those kinds of dividers, though, Christians don't vote at a high enough level, high enough
yeah.
percentage.
Yeah. And I think, there's certain things that we can bring forth for that. And one of the things I want to concentrate on and, engage those micro donors is we need a statewide media campaign that really speaks to the heart of the voters.
I think it just simply common sense is what, if you get out and you talk about common sense values and creating a better life for you and your children, the Democrats are in a lot of ways anti-family.
Yes.
In a
Yes.
whole lot of ways, they've so bought into their green ideology or religion that
Yeah.
all common sense is gone. No matter what it costs us, we have to be at carbon zero.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Jumping away
And
from that a little bit, though,
mhm.
I don't want to forget to ask this question.
Sure.
How do you stand on proxies? Because we have a lot of people that don't actually attend the convention, and they're carrying 3 and 4 and 5 proxies. And I know lots and lots of people that go that have told me, to me, that's worrisome. One person
Yeah.
gets to decide, don't sign up to be a delegate if you can't afford to go,
Yeah.
outside of maybe, an exception for illness.
Yeah. So once again, I'm a person of action, and I've written bylaw changes to reform that. And I think my bylaw change was the closest it ever came to actually passing. And so I collaborated with other county chairs, and we submitted a bylaw change in 2020 when I ran for chair of chairs. And someone told me, "Oh, Lani, you're not supposed to do that when you're running for office." And I go, "I don't care. I'm sick of this. I submitted it. It's done. It's over with." And so, I really put a lot of effort into trying to talk to people and explaining that, because I previously in past conventions, I actually got up to the proxies and rules committee and spoke my piece about it and how it was affecting our state. And so, the GOP.
Well,
And
if the hardworking people don't have faith in the system, they tend to not want to participate. So I know a lot
yeah,
of people that have went, okay, I'm going to do something else that used to be involved because they don't believe in the Republican Party. We have to
right.
find that trust.
Exactly. So agree with you. So first of all, I'm totally against the proxy. I've written bylaws to try to change that. I also, going back a little bit, I founded the election integrity program with our secretary, Randy Burholtz. And, in a very short amount of time, we got counties up and running, and counties did not want to do it. They were dedicated to election EIPCA. And I love Linda
Like
and that whole group.
Linda and
And
Ruth, yeah.
yeah, they've done incredible work. But I felt this was an opportunity for our party to show we care too. And when you do work with Linda's group, you have to be nonpartisan.
Hmm.
So a lot of it, I said, look, this is a chance for us to get involved and say, we're Republicans and we care about this. And this is what we're going to do. And so I started working with outside lawyers that were going to come in and do forensic audits with those machines. I mean, so I know exactly how that whole program started, and I would love to see a line item on our financial statement for money, money to go to election integrity because we need it, you know. And I know the changes where we need it. So those are two things that I want to see reformed, and also the voting machines. So I signed the petition to do away with those because I believe that we should go back to paper ballots. We should follow our president. We should be in alignment with him. And that's another thing. Some people don't understand this, but when you call people and give them your idea and how it will better, the our community or our state party or whatever the case may be, they use a certain term for that. I don't really like the term, and it's called whipping the vote. But let me tell you, I've done a lot of it. So, I don't, I definitely agree. We need to do away with those voting machines.
Well,
Not only
but we have them at our
because,
state party. Where's our example?
well, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So I don't know, did you get the survey?
No.
Okay, so there's a survey going out there. And I don't want to say I'm a part of it because I'm so busy, but I support it. And I've been talking to people about it. And so they want to do away with those voting machines at the convention. And I agree with that. We need to do that because you know why? Because as a delegate, you can pull the votes from past conventions. And even my vote wasn't calculated correctly. And they said in 2020 we had issues with that. And I called state leadership and said, hey, this is going on down in these counties. They're not being able to get their voting right. Oh, it's user error, Lonnie. No, I'm tired of hearing that. There's too much user error. And so either get machines in there that have,
No, don't get machines because
no,
machines can be hacked. As
exactly,
opposed to
no
if we
user
just had a
error.
couple people watch and pay them and film the whole thing and take care of itself. We're going to go ahead and take our last break.
Okay.
And this is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. So I want you to think about hope and solutions. How do we fix this? And maybe even where you find your hope. Let's go ahead and come back. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I wasn't sure
Okay.
if I should talk or not.
And we're coming back. This is
Okay.
it. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. I am joined by Lani Kane. Is it Lani or Lani?
Actually, you know what? I have a bad habit of not correcting people. So my real name is Lani Connie. That's how you say it. So
Okay, did not know that.
I
You should
know a
have
lot of
just
people are
jumped
like,
in and told me.
you know what? It's okay. I just some people are like, why don't you correct people? I mean, I don't know. I'm used to being called Kane, So, but it is pronounced Connie.
Okay. Well, I think we need paper ballots, not in because apparently they have a plunger and you can carry several of these, just like you can carry several proxies. I think
Yeah.
it's paper ballots, and you got to be in person. I think that's the only fair way.
Yeah, I've been to conventions where, we used to scream, right? So we used to yell. And I've been to conventions where people will ask for a floor vote. Like, why can't we do that? It didn't take that long. I mean, literally, people got up, stood up for what they wanted, and their heads were counted. And that was pretty fast.
Yeah.
I got to tell you. And so I agree with you. I don't like those machines. They've recorded my vote wrong when I know I did not vote for certain things because I was a part of the change. And when I say I'm a part of the change, that means I'm calling people, I'm talking to them. I want them to understand what we're up against. And if this changes, what's going to happen. So I agree with you. And as for the proxies, I've written bylaw changes. So, I want to say, that old saying, put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how I was raised.
Well, that's something that's almost been forgotten as we've developed here in communist California, a lack of accountability, lack of leadership. By the way, we're essentially led by one party. They control everything, and they have for 20 years almost?
Yeah,
Almost 20 years. I think it's slightly less, but almost 20 years.
right.
It's time for a change, folks. And that change both starts with changing yourself and starts with leadership at the top. It can happen both at the same time. So why are you hopeful?
I'm hopeful because of the people in this state. I'm connected with them, I'm involved with them, and they are fed up. And they're willing to do exactly what you did. Got to get involved. Get involved at the level where you're going to make a difference because you became a delegate. And that's what we need. So it brings me great hope because I see people, they're fed up with the high gas prices. They're fed up with their kids being, I think in Bakersfield, they have schools that are there all day. Their kids are there all day. They don't want to lose their parental rights. There's just so many things in this state that are affecting everyday people's lives in the negative. In
Well,
the negative.
a great example. Just the other day, it was this as an assembly bill. I think it was 133. Now it has not made it
Mhm.
all the way through, thank goodness. But it was eliminating the right to defend yourself in your own home.
I saw that.
I just blew my mind. What do you mean I can't
Yeah.
defend myself in my own home?
Right.
Like I'll go to jail? Now I don't think this can pass constitutional muster, but everybody that's caught, let's say it passes, everybody that's caught until it makes it to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court slaps it down, because I truly believe they will slap it down,
Yeah.
they're screwed. This is
Yeah.
another example of the state, or at least the leftist fools in Sacramento, not paying attention to the people, having no
Right.
common sense. One party rule has completely corrupted them.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It's funny because when I decided to run, I reached out to certain legislators and just let them know. Um, I personally don't ask for endorsements. I have my own reasoning for that, but people do endorse me, and that means 10 times more to me when people just do that. But I let them know, I met with them and let them know I was running, and I asked them a question: what do you want to see from the state party so that we can start working together and bridging those gaps? And Senator Nilo said something to me that it was so simple. He's like, "We need to get more Republicans in office." And I go, "There it is." How much more simpler can it be? So, I really, and I did that about a year ago before I decided to throw my hat in. So I really worked on a political plan that I feel will benefit each county in getting elected officials in office so that we can start changing the tide of this Democratic Party, this one party rule.
Well, I think
And,
there's a lack of boldness has been a lot of my issue. It's like
mhm,
the people in charge of the California GOP have largely failed me in that they have not defended Republican, or I shouldn't say Republican, I should say conservative values. And now I get that some of the people at the top are not conservative. I would contend that Jessica is not a conservative. She's smart, she's well spoken, she can raise money, but she's not a conservative. So I'm not inspired to work by her. I'm inspired to work by knowing that we need better. Those bold, painting with bold colors rather than pale pastels, that Reagan quote,
yeah,
I believe that's what leads us out of this. We have to be bold.
I agree. And we have to be involved in our state county party just like you are. And I know the difficulties you're having, and I don't want to get into that either. But each county, so let me give you an example. When I became chairs, someone said to me, "Lonnie, do you understand what you just did?" And I go, "Yeah, I ran and I'm going to represent all 58 counties." And they're like, "No, you are very powerful. And you just don't realize how powerful you are."
I think most
As
people don't.
counties, go ahead.
I think most people don't. So I want you to
Yeah.
finish this story, but you need to know that we're down to about a minute and a half.
Okay. I just want to say, get involved at the local level. Counties are collaborating together and they bring that forth at the convention. People don't know that, but they do. They're collaborating for our values, and the delegate vote counts. So thank you for becoming a delegate. You can get more information about me at my website. Is LaniKane.com, and that is LaniKane.com. And
Lani, say that one more
my
time. LaniKane.com.
.com. Yeah, and I think my phone number's on there because guess what? I answer my phone. And I mean that. The whole state of California has my phone number. So I answer my phone and I always get back to people. So might take me a minute to get back to you, but I do.
Well, it is much appreciated. You are, for my local listeners, you will be Thursday, is today the 27th?
Yes.
Okay, Thursday the 27th at 6 p.m., you will be having a live meet and greet at Bobby Salazar's, the one at Champlain and Perrin. So if you're not in the local area, sorry, but some of my local people will hear this and know. You don't have
Yeah,
to be a delegate to go listen and ask some questions.
definitely. I welcome everybody. I hope to see you there. Ellen Wotella, who's running for your region, will be there too, and she'll be speaking as well.
Well, I wish I could be there, but I hope I convinced a bunch of people to get there. And I
I
thank you for
appreciate
this
that.
time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help. I appreciate your dedication. And I appreciate that you got involved at the level that you did. People don't understand that. But once they do, they're like, how do we do that? This is
Well,
how you do it.
we
And
need to
that's
be
what I
points of
did.
light.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
encourage everybody to get involved. Lonnie, Connie,
Thank you.
thank you for this time.
Yes.
This is
Thank
Eric
you too.
Rollins, the Constitutionalist here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town.